be a complete nightmare when the front door slams shut and you suddenly realise you've left your keys inside your house. And then it's made even worse if you're massively overcharged to fix the problem.
Yeah, every year there are hundreds of complaints about fraudulent locksmiths. So presenter Riyadh Khalaf went to find out the best ways to get back in your home hassle-free.
1 minute, everything's just right with the world. But then you get to your front door only to find
no keys. But luckily I always have a spare set with some neighbours, so I'm never locked outside for too long. And when I do have my keys, they've always worked. But one day I'm bound to be stuck outside and in need of a locksmith.
which is exactly what happened to Londoner Dominic Dunford. He was left stranded on his doorstep when his key snapped in the lock.
So, Dominic, how did we get to this point where we're sitting in front of a broken key and a broken lock?
Well, it all started, I put the key in the lock, and unfortunately the key broke in two. I had the two small bits.
Oh yeah, that is properly sheared in two, isn't it?
Yeah. So I didn't know what to do.
Like many of us in a moment of crisis, Dominic searched online for an answer, and he found an emergency locksmith who was soon at his door.
He was able to get the little piece out with some tweezers. He then immediately said, oh, it'll be £189 to drill the lock. And I didn't know anything about locks. It took him about 40-50 minutes. It was quite a tough job. When he was drilling with the drill, the wood was beginning to smoke from the friction. There were sparks coming from the metal from the lock.
Is this the part of the bit he drilled?
That's the bit that he drilled, yeah. And you can see obviously the metal that he's kind of pulled out, and I think he's drilled two separate holes there. You can see the drill bit was almost like about an inch across.
Yeah, and they've joined.
Yeah. It was at that point he'd opened the door.
But with the old lock destroyed by the drill, the locksmith said he'd fit a new one straight away.
Eventually he called me through, he said he'd finished, and I said, okay, how much is that? And he just said £981. What? And I thought, oh, you're joking. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, how much is it? I said. He said, oh, £981. And I just suddenly froze. I was like, he means it, he's not joking. So from there on in, I just wanted him out. I said, I just simply can't afford that. He said, well, the only option is I take it out and replace it with a £350 lock, or I take it altogether. I just didn't want him to touch the door anymore.
Did you feel unsafe?
I just felt suddenly something was going horribly, horribly wrong. You know, it wasn't what we'd agreed. I knew there was a scam going on, and so suddenly I didn't feel safe.
And under pressure, Dominic eventually paid £800 on his credit card.
When he said this astronomical price,
yeah,
why didn't you resist? Why did you pay?
So suddenly I did feel very uncomfortable, and I in hindsight, I was like a rabbit in the headlights. I just didn't know what to do. And at the time I thought, okay, I'll pay it on my credit card, and if I can, I'll see if I can get some redress.
What's worse is that paying 800 quid didn't guarantee Dominic a quality job.
This plate potentially could fall off, and then also this side lock here, the top screw is missing there, and the actual plate is loose.
I can't believe what I'm seeing. I mean, it's sticking out from the door. It's not flush.
No, not flush.
And there's, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, instead of 6 screws, there are 3.
3. It's a terrible, terrible job.
As he paid via credit card, Dominic did have somewhere to turn to and complain, arguing he'd been ripped off. That complaint led to his card provider refunding over £500 to him as a gesture of goodwill. But I'm keen to see what an expert would make of his drilled-out disaster. Lloyd Morgan has over 20 years' experience in his locker.
So straight away we can tell by the size of the holes that this was done by an unskilled technician. We tend to call them drill smiths rather than locksmiths. They wouldn't have the tools to open this kind of lock. I mean, how difficult would it have been to pop down the road and get this key copied? Like, most locksmiths could have copied this key in their van immediately and had a genuine working key without having to do any of this damage.
And Lloyd can even show us what a real locksmith should have done for Dominic.
How hard is it to get that key out, and can the lock generally be saved?
Why don't you try snapping the key, and then we'll try and get the broken bit of key out. Just push, don't jam it. There we go. Key broken in lock.
Oh yeah, there it is right there. Now, If that happened to me, I would be sweating buckets because nothing you do will get that out at all. So show me the magic.
Right, so just going to insert a very small hook into the edge.
You're trying to grab on to the bit of key.
That's it. Let's do something.
This is like keyhole surgery. Yes! That is amazing.
Lloyd says this easy fix would have saved Dominic a small fortune.
If he'd have phoned us and told us the key had broken in the lock, we could have advised him on how to remove it. He could have come to us and we could have cut him a key, and it would have cost him for this particular key £8.
Rather than
£800.
900.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal.
Stefan George is the managing director of the Master Locksmiths Association. It wants the government to regulate the industry and force out rogue locksmiths.
Anybody can call themselves a locksmith, so we have an approved company scheme so that people know who they're going to use. The problem is the consumer is lured in with a cheap price that's advertised. It could be £49, £39, we've even seen some that are down to £29. And they think, well, that must be the price of the job, so they're going to go with that. Also, they think search engines, if they're at the top, they must be good. And unfortunately, they end up paying significantly more than the price that's advertised.
Stefan suggests acting now to be prepared.
Look for your local bona fide locksmith. We would suggest visiting locksmiths.co.uk, find the details of your locksmith and put them in your phone.
So I guess the advice would be, if you're in a situation where you can't get into your home and you need to, don't act on impulse, take a beat, think, and then call.
Absolutely, it could save you a lot of money.
You know, today has really made me think. It is inevitable. I will lose my keys and be locked out of my house one day. And when that happens, I want an expert like Lloyd to come to my aid, not some rogue. And the key to all of this is preparation.
Staggering amounts of money was quoted there, and it was something so simple to fix.
Yeah, the key was only like a tenner, wasn't it?
Yeah. So get your price before you have the work done.
100%, 100%. Now,